Hello, and welcome to the Urban Conservative. How's everybody doing this morning? I hope you grabbed your coffee, your tea, your Coca-Cola, your Sprite, because we're going to jump right into it this morning. The first story that I'm going to start off with is out of Florida, and it is DeSantis interrupting for photo opportunities. Disrupting relief operations in Florida had to be stopped so Ron DeSantis could have his narcissistic photo op in the middle of a disaster zone. This is from, we like to give credit to other creators, other journalists. This is from a girl, has no precedent, off of Instagram, that she got it off of Twitter from Sam.
But frustration mounted as civilians told to pause their relief operations for several hours as Ron DeSantis toured the area.
That's right. So why does that have to stop right now? It's the same thing we've been doing before anybody was here.
We're going to have I'm so frustrated that they had to shut that operation because what is your perception of that operation? They had to close operations, Governor, why you I'm with exactly that point. Their best going to see when all four stuff from going in back and forth. We have it on video there.
So I'm going to bring this up because, as a conservative, I'm not a fucking Republican. I'm not a Democrat. And this fight for me, conservatism to me is good versus evil, right versus wrong. And what DeSantis did was highly wrong. After a hurricane just brutalized, demoralized, tore down your great state, and you're coming out there, you have people coming from other states, you have people coming from literally other countries to come give relief, to come give your state help, and you stop those relief operations to take a photo op during an election. I really do have issues with that. And for me, it's, people want to talk politics. How is that not wrong? We can call out police. People say, oh, you like to say this, you like to say that. But is it really that depth of it, of politics, of that we take the most despair opportunities, fair opportunities of trauma, of pain, suffering, and to turn it into a photo op. That really it is nerve-wracking, because we see that with the police-involved shootings. And I will actually, you know what? Let's get to that, because I know my brother Soup right now is streaming on Facebook. So let's get into that, because I do like to shout my peoples out. So let's do that right now, live.
Williams and MLK. So which way is MLK? Is it that right there? Oh, okay. All right.
So this is live
What are they
from
saying on the intercom?
Lansing, Michigan.
I can't hear what they're saying. Mr. Williams and old? That's somebody's on my chat. So. Williams, Mr. Williams and old then. They're still saying something over the intercom, but the fact that there's only like 3 tactical units there, they might just be trying to clear the house. I don't know.
So as you can see, as
All right, we're walking down there. Thanks, Jessica.
Soup is independent media. He covers police-involved shootings. He covers fires, marches, protests. Hello. Welcome to the Urban Conservative. How's everybody doing this morning? I hope you grabbed your coffee, your tea, your Coca-Cola, your Sprite, because we're going to jump right into it this morning. If anything really is the first story that I'm going to start off with is out of Florida, and it is DeSantis interrupted for photo opportunity.
Hey, can I talk to you for a second?
Let's hold on.
All right, thank you.
Relief operations in Florida had to be stopped. So Ron DeSantis could have his artistic fully would like to get into this feeding our futures that is happening in Minneapolis. And that is, it involves thousands, and we're just going to get into this.
I would argue it's not possible. It's not possible to overreact because we looked filthy. The act, which is not going to be that far of a stretch for Georgia fans.
I would argue it's not possible.
It's not possible to overreact.
Hold on a minute.
We'll talk all about it right after this.
I messed up.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia.
I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. So bear with me.
He had enough furnace just on the fritz for a limited time. Buy a furnace and get an AC for free. Plus, take advantage of 18-month financing. Power. GensRyan.com.
Sorry about the ad. Everybody got ads.
Three more suspects in the Feeding Our Future fraud case made their first court appearances this afternoon. In the meantime, we've been tracking what happened to some of the money they received, including political donations. Here's Lou Ragoose.
There's no evidence that the politicians knew the money was coming from people involved with alleged fraud, but we wanted to check how much money they received and whether they've returned it.
Between March 2020 and now, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar received 3 campaign donations totaling $7,400 from 3 suspects now charged in the $250 million Feeding Our Future federal meal fraud.
Now, you hear that. This is so far the money that they have uncovered is $444 million. That's damn near $500 million that was supposed to be out here feeding our kids, as the nonprofit was called, Feeding Our Futures. And what were they doing? They were out here buying homes. buying cars, vacations, and what were our elected officials doing? Taking the money and being silent.
Most of the money came from owners of Safari Restaurant. Omar's campaign says she has donated all that money to food charities. Omar's not the only Minnesota politician to receive donations from the defendants. State Senator Omar Fateh returned 10 contributions after last winter's FBI raids. State Senator John Hoffman just returned $3,000 in contributions from Mikfira Hussein and her associates. Hussein was arrested after booking a one-way flight to Ethiopia. Not every campaign contribution stayed in Minnesota. Carol 11 News tracked $8,750 from 9 fraud defendants given to Washington State Representative candidate Shukri Olo. She was unaware when we contacted her which of the donations came from feeding our future suspects. And the donations didn't completely stop after the FBI investigation was made public in January.
Now, see, this is the crazy part for me is that I'm going to play this back a little bit because Lou says a very valid statement.
Future suspects. And the donations didn't completely stop after the FBI investigation was made public in January. 4 months later, Attorney General Keith Ellison, who already had an active lawsuit against Feeding Our Future, received $2,700 from Liban Alshire, who's charged with stealing $1.6 million in federal money. Ellison's campaign announced they refunded the donation in full. There also were a couple losing primary candidates who received donations. Back to you.
Michigan Tech is like its very own thing.
Now,
I want to take risks.
you see, how do you investigate something when they're still donating to your campaign? And I know damn well, we all know that just because the names haven't been announced yet, the names haven't been said, that I guarantee it that there's been way more money that has been thrown around than the little 2,700 or the 1.6 that this Liban Alshire fraudulently spent around Minnesota, other countries, and yet we still have hunger issues in Minneapolis. We still have homeless people in Minneapolis. And where is Keith Ellison? Where is Ilhan Omar? Nowhere to be found. And yet we're silent. We're silent. We're silent. And yet vote Democrat. Vote Democrat. Democrat. We're supposed to vote for Walz, who, when is asked a question about why, when did he know, what did he know, and runs. Or you have the state auditor who is supposed to audit, and yet nothing. And yet nothing. So we're going to go vote November 8th for nothing, to Black people to be left behind yet again, for our children to be left behind yet again, our kids to be out here getting gunned down because of failed democratic policies. Or you have the nonprofit organizations out here swindling the money and yet want to make a performative action, performative post, and we're supposed to be okay with that. This is what I want to bring to you, is another way of life, because being a conservative is a value. It's not a political party. It's a value, which conservative, when you look up the definition, is about family values. It's about keeping that core together, about looking out for one another. Everything that I learned in a movement is what basically a conservative is. Who keeps us safe? We keep us safe. They teach that I am thy brother. So how is that not a family dynamic? So how can you preach a family dynamic, but yet live totally opposite of what you preach? What happened to practice what you preach? I hear all these chants. I hear all these hashtags. Not even hear, see. What change do we get? Does a hashtag beyond awareness make change? Does shut up and help do anything? There's justice for, because half these hashtags we don't even have justice for. Half these names we don't have justice for. We don't have justice for. So how do we get justice? Is it marching? Is it standing in front of a building? Because that makes awareness. That maybe might make a mayor do something, like in Brooklyn Center, where there was enough public backlash, there was enough public unity in Brooklyn Center where Mayor Elliott did the right thing. We had to burn down a police station, which they gave us. I don't want people mistaken that wasn't great, because that was great, but I want people to understand too that was a setup. They gave us 3rd Precinct. The Minnesota Democrats, the Minneapolis Democrats, they gave us that. They gave us that token. Just like 38th in Chicago, they gave us those tokens. Because what else have they given us? Boston Meter Lock, Teckle, Bilal Aid, Noah Kelly, Anaya Allen, Ladavion Garrett Jr., Trinity Rain Smith, Vanessa Jensen. How many more names do we have to say? How many more mass shootings? How many, it's crazy, just yesterday, so 22 hours ago, there was a shooting by a bus stop. Man got shot in his front door. 9 o'clock in the morning. Where's the police presence? And I was talking to a parent yesterday, and honestly, I don't even know what to say to these people anymore. Who knows what to say? Because you can't come out here and in the world, in the society that we live in, expect that everything's going to be okay. I know every day that I leave my front stoop, my front step, that could be my last time ever coming back, ever seeing the front door. Every time I get my car and start it up, I wonder, is this going to be the last time I start the car? I get behind the wheel, I just put it in drive. I see flashers behind me. And I wonder, is this it? Is this it? Because where I'm from, you have 2 options. It's fight or flee. And that's what you're seeing out here. When you come from an environment that it's no holds barred, that there's no rules, that's what you're seeing out here. So the so-called gangs, the so-called, first of all, that's laughter to me. And honestly, I already have a target on my back, and I can really give a fuck. Gangs today are there's no loyalty. Again, that's a value, which is conservative value, is being loyal, because that's a family value. But you see the gangs of today versus the gangs of the 80s, the gangs of the 90s. And what's different? Everybody flip-flops. That's not loyalty. That's, you know, when I got into growth and development, it was about looking out for everybody. It was about growing. It was about making sure that your community was good. It was about caring. I don't see that. I don't see no compassion out here. I see a lot of sympathy when we really need more empathy. We need people to care about thy neighbor, not just say it. We need people to really honestly look out for one another. We need people to love one another. We need people to each one, teach one. Can we just start reaching out for our youth? Because that's who's suffering. You know, Malcolm said that education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it. What are we preparing for? Educationally, we're not preparing our kids for today. We're not preparing our kids for tomorrow. Shit, we can't even prepare our kids from the past. Because I honestly, as a 45-year-old man, I sit here and half the stories that we were told, half the history, to me it was bullshit. It was bullshit because in school I grew up thinking that money, it came from trees. But then when you look into it, money is made out of cotton and silk. Cotton and silk. And who picked cotton? Who picked cotton? Negroes, black people, poor whites. And then I see why, started the reasons of why the Civil War, why the American Revolution. Do y'all even know what that shit is even really about? They literally were fighting wars over us, over product, because that's all we were, product. Just like the Apple iPhone, just like PlayStation, just like this laptop was a product. My ancestors had serial numbers. What do you think we got social security numbers for? We ain't that, just like an OID. When I went to prison, I wasn't known as Chaz Neal. I was known as Minnesota Department of Corrections inmate 1987-29. It was branded. Unless that mail had 1987-29 on it. That's the only way that mail was given to me. It wasn't known as Chaz Lawrence Neal. I was known as offender 1987-29. So think about that when you're in these streets and you want to talk about, oh, I'm my own man. You're not your own man. If you're out here selling fentanyl, crack cocaine, heroin, and you think that you're a boss, you think that you're an entrepreneur, you're none of that. You're a dream snatcher, first of all. Because all you're doing is out here snatching dreams. And you need to be in a prison, especially if you're out here killing people. Because that's what that fentanyl is doing. That's what that fentanyl is doing. It's killing our future. It's killing the younger generation. Because they dress it up as candy. They dress it up as Adderall. They dress it up as Xanax. And we want to get mad at the police. We want to get mad at police. Who brings in this shit? Because I'll tell you right now, these little dealers I be seeing out here, they don't own no boats. They don't own no planes. These niggas barely rent apartments, barely have cars. So you tell me how the fentanyl getting in here. Because it ain't these poor ass niggas out here. It ain't these motherfuckers out here trying to make it another day. It ain't motherfuckers out here trying to feed their families. It's the people y'all going to vote for November 8th. Because if you've never heard of Freeway Ricky Ross, look into that story. We funded a whole war in LA, out in Costa Rica. All that cocaine that was crack, that was killing our people. Yeah, because when you do positive, like the Black Panthers, Fred Hampton, Malcolm X, that speaks out about white supremacy, speaks out about the, I ain't gonna say Uncle Tom, because that's honestly, that's a compliment. Uncle Ruckus ass niggas out here that take the money, that want to say they're an NBA star, they want to be called a rapper, or they want to be called an entertainment specialist. Because I'll tell you right now, what Candace Owens and Kanye West did over the weekend, I don't agree with that shit. I don't agree with that shit. Because, yeah, white lives do matter. But right now, black lives matter way fucking more because of the simple fact of who's out here getting slaughtered? Who's out here ain't getting no fucking justice? But black lives matter? So yeah, I don't agree with Kanye. I don't agree with Candace. I'm not gonna sit here and flaunt our people being murdered and to make a political statement, because that's all it was, a political statement. So that he could, and honestly, who listens to Kanye anyways? He got a couple of good hot bars on some songs. Ain't nobody I am buying no streaming his album. I'm not gonna sit there and go to Spotify and put Kanye in. Maybe for some older shit when he made sense. Not since the mental health has taken over. And I'm not going to blame what he's doing on mental health either, because that's an excuse and a cop-out. He's a grown-ass man and he's got to take responsibility for his words. He's got to take responsibility for his actions. Regardless if it's mental health or not, the nigga go get help because you fucking need it. Definitely need it because mental health is a real thing. Mental health is not talked about enough in the black community. It's not talked about enough in the poor community. And maybe it is talked about, but for the simple fact of the resources ain't here. The resources ain't here. The resources ain't here. Boy, y'all sure ain't a chatty bunch today. Sure ain't a chatty bunch. But I'm going to talk about a variety of things on here. I am setting up interviews with a couple of political candidates. So really look out for that. I really, really do want to. So you're tuning in to the Urban Conservative. I'm Chaz Neal, activist based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And we're being brought to you by the Leon Block Independent Media. We are all about transparency, truth, and accountability. The Urban Conservative is all about the news on the streets, gun violence, crime, politics, and how we solve our community's most hardest issues. How can we change our communities for the better? Let's get back to family, community roots. Let's make sure nobody gets left behind. Set up and help. And that's part of the reason why I got together with Marcus and joined Black Lives the Streets, because it's a total opposite of what we are being, why we are being, I gotta see this one. But that's why I joined with Marcus and Alamar, Todd, and did Black Lives in the Streets, because it was something that is missing up here in these streets, is looking out for thy neighbor, looking out for thy sister. So I think I'm gonna end today on this. Definitely we'll get into deeper context for sure. So I will holler at y'all later. Win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell. Wish me